Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream.
All right, guys, welcome to my live stream. Today I'm working on illustration for a client. I have to draw a snake studying. So it's like a python at a desk studying a book. I started gesturing it out, and I lost track of time today. So for some reason, I thought it was Tuesday. And so I was like messaging my friend Scott. I'm like, "Where are you, dude? Artcasters?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's Monday." So it's been one of those days of a lot of interesting stuff going on, but being a little out of sorts. So there's a couple of things I have to do today. One is get this drawing done. Two is try to record some music, because I just noticed that I'm more kind of centered as a human when I'm connecting to music. And I guess maybe we can talk about that while I work, but I'm starting to think that as an artist or a professional, like honestly a professional in any field, you have to really be connecting the things that you love, just to kind of give the vigor for all the other things, which is pretty easy when you're in a scenario like me where I love teaching, so I'm connecting to that. I love making art. I love hanging out with my family. And the last thing is music, right? I really love making music. And if I'm not making music, I notice kind of like if I'm not working on art, it just starts affecting me in a weird way. And it's like a subconscious thing. So anyhow, that's the goal today, is like do this illustration really quick for the client. And then from there, probably do my exercise, because I've been really good with exercise recently, and I need to keep that up because I'm an old man, and if I don't exercise, I fall apart. And then after that, we're gonna basically I'm gonna work on lesson plans and stuff like that. So which I have a rough idea of what we're gonna do for the next project in my class. I think we're gonna do like a big mural. That's what I want to do. Divided into squares where each kid gets a square. Not a square. Okay. If you're tuning in, I appreciate it. Just so you guys know, the chat goal today is I have chat goals. I'm trying to do this. I did this like last night or early this morning in the wee hours, where I'm putting just a $5 goal. To try to, kind of monetize this a tiny bit, and hopefully, gamify it a little bit too. So here's the catch. If I get a $5 super chat, I will stream for about 30 minutes longer, if that person so pleases, unless they want to just go, hey, this is just kicking in, just for the heck of it. So $5 super chats, I will stream 30 minutes longer. Otherwise, we're going to work on this snake. It's interesting. I don't draw snakes very often, much less cartooning snakes. And just starting to build this out a little bit in Blue Line. I'm surprised by this thing that you're going to notice in art all the time, where When you work professionally as an artist, you're always going to be drawing things that you've never drawn before. Where in the back of your mind, you're like, "Can I do this?" Like, I've never really drawn a snake reading a book. How's the snake going to read a book? But then like, the fun part about art that I find is those questions that come up when you're thinking about drawing something. So, because drawing is a thinking endeavor, it's not just a drawing endeavor. The fun of drawing is using your imagination and following those questions that naturally come up when you're trying to draw something like, okay, well, the snake's drawing, or the snake is going to be reading and studying. Is he holding a book? Does he have glasses? Is he in a library? Like what kind of library? What kind of library does a snake chill in? How's he sitting? Like he's going to be at a desk? Is he sitting in like a big snake chair? How does this look? And that kind of leads you to the fun things in drawing. So anyhow, needless to say, you don't need to see my ugly face. Let's actually get into art. This is an art stream. So the goal of this isn't just to see me. Boom. My snake so far. I'm pretty happy with him. This is just blue line, so I'm kind of working it out. Now, keep in mind, the nice thing about drawing that I find is like the snake, for instance. I've never really drawn a snake, but if you look at its head, right? If I look at a photo of a snake, its head is kind of broken into this interesting shape. I'm just drawing a shape and dimension. And I'm breaking it down into the, thing you do as a kid where you have like a cube, right? Uh, so I'm thinking about this shape and I'm like, what is the shape of the snake? And it's kind of this, right? With a little bit of a thing here. Does that make sense? And once I have that shape, it's like, okay, now I can like look at, okay, where's the eye line? Where's my center line? Does that make sense? And so it kind of simplifies the process quite a bit. I like just looking at like what is the shape of what I'm drawing, and how does that work in space, right? Again, just allowing your imagination to go, like okay, I'm drawing a snake. What is a snake's head shape? Like, what does that look like in dimension? So you don't end up just drawing like a boring otherwise you end up just drawing things straight on, in general, or directly to the side. If you don't start thinking about like the dimension of the shapes of what you're drawing. Anyhow, I'm bloviating about this snake drawing as if it's the most amazing thing in the world, but that's another trick to art that I'm sure people who are professionals at this like understand. You have to get hyped up about your work. Like sometimes it's going to be things that maybe aren't your passion, but like what's the thing about this drawing that's going to get you, super pumped about this so that it translates that you were really pumped and enjoying it, right? Because if not, like if you're bored when you're drawing something, don't expect that like somebody's going to look at your drawing and not be bored themselves, right? So I don't know. Anyhow, I'm rambling, and I'm kind of in art teacher mode, so I'm sorry if I'm like lecturing, lecturing about the joy of drawing. But yeah, this is the fun stuff of art: is the like allowing your imagination to kind of run wild. So right now, I'm gonna have surrounded by some books. Keep in mind, I'm also gonna have more of the snake's folds, and I'm roughly gonna try to think like where. Like, I know I want his tail coming out here in this spot, and I know I want his head here. I kind of have to figure out the rest of the snake, but I'm going to kind of build the environment around him, too. This is for a client, and I don't know if you guys are familiar, but apparently there is a programming language called Python. So that's kind of the bit on cover here, is like kind of doing the programming language. It's tough because I'm drawing a cartoon snake, and like part of this client's things with covers is like they don't want like chibi, like cute covers. They want things that are kind of realistic but kind of cartoony. It's like this interesting um, kind of balance. And so we'll see if I'm able to do that. So I have the snake have a pile of books, um, and right now I'm gonna think of them as like cubes in space. Maybe we'll have like these books, some of them off kilter, right? Because he's studying, right? He's studying, so he's not gonna have like an even stack of books. Um, and then maybe he'll have post-it notes. I don't know. I haven't met the snake yet. Have you? But that's gonna be half the fun of this is getting going. So how are you guys doing tonight? Today was really interesting to me. I had the opportunity to kind of go off site and check out and observe other teachers, which was really cool, um, and really helpful. Like I have like thing that's fun about education is like every teacher has like their own approach to kind of teaching and and especially every artist, right? Every artist is a little weird. We're all a little strange, okay? I don't know if you guys know this, but if you're the type of person who likes to sit alone and draw on paper, um, you're probably a little weird. Like, and that's okay. That's kind of the fun of it. It's the of this thing we do, right? But but anyhow, so it was fun to see it. Fun to see all these unique, interesting approaches to the same. I'm gonna get like nerdy and say pedagogy, right? Pedagogy is like your method of teaching or delivery. And so it's always really, at least for me, it's really exciting to be able to witness and observe different techniques that can then steal. Like if I like it and I can see utility in it, then I can take it. If I don't like what I'm seeing, I can kind of disregard it or think about it a little bit and be like, is there a reason that technique that I'm observing is actually pretty cool, and I'm just hesitant to do it because I'm being lazy or stuck in my ways, right? Which I shouldn't be stuck in my ways since this is like my first year doing high school stuff, so I'm still learning. Um, but anyhow, so it was a really fascinating day, and I'm just swimming with ideas now of like things I can implement. All right, we got our snake. He's got some books on his desk. I got to clarify that it's a desk because I for sure as heck cannot tell this is a desk. I like the idea. Maybe he has a mug. Maybe he has like a snake mug. What do you guys? What would be on a snake's mug? Like, what would a snake have written on its mug? I'm trying to think. Think of something cute or clever that it could have on its coffee mug. I think a coffee mug for the snake would be good. While I'm drawing this, if you guys have any ideas of what a snake would have on its coffee mug whilst curled up reading a book, what would be on it? Would it be like what's a snake pun regarding reading? I gotta think about this. I'm gonna spend more time thinking about the stupid thing that's gonna be on the snake's mug. Well, there's his coffee mug. I don't like how I did the base here. So I'm gonna kind of work out that that in dimension a little better. Oh, nice! Gary Hodges with the snake pun win. It says studying. Nice. I'm gonna make some baselines for my type. This is the fun thing about working in blue line too is you can be a little like I usually even like to keep my digital brush a little thick while I'm working in blue line so that my lines aren't totally sure, and if I catch myself getting into too much detail, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna just have it say study hall or study group. And then we'll build out this type in a bit. Right now it's like a placeholder study group. And then I want some lovely smoke kind of blowing from this. That might be a little much smoke. That's like the area I live in every May. Like, well, not May. It's usually June, July, or August where everything lights on fire in the area I live in. Well, not really in the area I live in, but like on the way out, you know. So we got Snake. He's kind of cozy. He's at his desk. He's studying. He's got stacks of paper. Maybe he has Post-it notes, you know. Because if I'm studying, I'm going to have little Post-it notes. Back in the day, we're thinking like studying, you know, internet. Because nowadays, this would be the most boring drawing in the world, where it would be a snake, like, you know, looking at a smartphone or a laptop, you know. Okay, so I like the idea of this kind of being a more extreme view of the snake. And I'm still just kind of building this out, like building it out loosey goosey. I'm actually really happy with how this is coming about. What's funny to me is with art, at least I don't know if you've noticed this, Gary, but I noticed that I'll have days where I get like a job from a client and I'll be done with the rough in like 30 minutes. And then I have where that rough is just not happening. And I'm like working it and it's labor for like days, you know? I want him to have like a old man chair, so I'm gonna look up reference of a like a gentleman's chair. A gentleman's chair kind of freaks me out looking that up, though, because that also sounds like the name of a seedy nightclub. Have you ever been to the gentleman's chair? Doesn't it? It kind of sounds like a, you know, you'd be watching a thing and, oh my goodness, my allergies, guys. My allergies. No. All right. Let's see here. I do get bad allergies. Do any of you guys get like really bad allergies around this season? It's like it's the worst. Like I feel like, and my son got my genetics. So like, because my wife doesn't get like crazy bad seasonal allergies, but my poor kid is rocking his dad's jeans, and on the allergy front. And so like around this time, it's bad. So I found a reference of a chair. I'm gonna kind of pull that up off the side. You guys don't get to see it. I'm sorry. You're not special. Maybe if somebody super chats $5, I'll show the chair. That's how this works. Okay. No, it's you know what is fun about the season of my life so far, and I would encourage you guys, if you're out there. This is so corny. I'm in like corny mode, guys. But if you're out there and you feel like you're in a rut, you know, maybe you're in a career you hate or something like that, and you love drawing and love art, I just realized it's not the end all be all. Because like I thought I was stuck in a career that I really, really despised. You wouldn't think it, because on paper it sounds like a cool career, like, you know, art director, ooh, fancy. You know, and then the more you're at this and you're working, like, man, you know, like most of my career as a illustrator and designer would be working for art directors. And so I'd be like, man, you know, that's got to be the gig. That's the gig. That's the guy who's hiring creatives and working with creatives and doing creative stuff. That must be the ceiling or whatever. And then I got that position and just frankly really disliked where I worked and just kind of felt stuck there for like, a decade or something. And it is so fun this year. Has been just really exciting in the sense that, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm not what I don't know what the term is. There's a lot of terms that I'm sure could come up. Let's just say it's not my first doing creative work or doing professional work, right? And so, to me, it's really exciting at my age, where a lot of people will kind of get stuck in their ways and feel trapped or something like that, where you can actually change things up and survive and like actually thrive and do even better and be happier than you currently are, which is really cool. So go out there and get it. Do the thing, the magical thing. I'm being a motivational speaker, but yeah, I know everybody's circumstances are different and stuff like that, but I guess my point is, I have been floored and excited this year by the fact that like it's a very adventurous life, and there's things out there. There's adventure, guys. Adventure awaits. And it's renewed my real love for things we do too, like art, Because like how fun is it? Like I know there's AI and there's like all these threats to the industry and stuff like that, but how fun is it that we get to just doodle? And then how fun is it that we're choosing to continue creating in the face of everything that's going on outside? It's like all the crappy things, all the weird things, all the corporate morons out there, all rich guys ruining everything out there, destroying people's lives. I don't know what that voice, but my point being, all that stuff can kind of go on the back burner, and you can actually do fun things like make stuff. Like today, I have the opportunity to do this cool illustration for a client, and after that, to do something positive like working out, and then after that, I get to create again. Like all day, all I have to do is create, and that's the position I want to be in. Is just like constantly making fun things, you know. And so I don't know, man. It's been a good day. I gotta say though, I was exhausted today, so I am an old man, and I don't know if I've mentioned that enough. I'm kind of joking because I think I've said that like 20. I'm not that old, okay? But But because of that, like I really treasure naps, and I'm powered by naps. I feel like NASCAR racers, how a NASCAR racer will have like their sponsors written on their. I'm gonna have a little bookshelf back here. This is an educated snake, okay? He's got a bookshelf in the background here. He's got a cheated 1-point perspective bookshelf that's not really going to be in 1-point perspective. If my friend David Chelsea saw this, he'd be rolling around in his grave, except he's not in a grave. But point being, he would be like, "Where is your vanishing point? Why are your orthogonal lines off?" And I'd be like, "I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Like, get back in your cave." I'm kidding. David's amazing. He's a sweet guy. If you guys haven't checked out David Chelsea, you should. He is. I am honored to like even know the dude. He's so brilliant when it comes to perspective. But he is one of those artists. Like you imagine. Okay, here's a good example of how good David Chelsea is. Imagine you're a baseball fanatic and you like playing baseball. And you're feeling really good because, like, in your local city league or whatever, you're pretty good and you've gotten some newspapers and stuff like that. And then, for some reason, you manage to befriend Shohei Ohtani. And then you're like, anytime Otani comes up, people are like talking about like their skills and like what they're learning and stuff like that. And then Otani comes and sits at the table, like, well, I guess I'm not that good. Like, I'm not really that much of a hitter. Or you're feeling really good about hitting, and then you're like, yeah, but I mean, I can't pitch at a national level and hit at the same time. He is the Otani of artists. Or, every artist, like, even in Portland, when I'd hang out with other artists and they'd like hang with David Chelsea, they knew guys. By the way, he's really friendly and nice, but they knew the guy was serious. He was a contender. All right, guys, look at this beautiful snake. You see this snake in his little cozy library? Are we getting there, guys? Are we getting there? Actually, your orthogonal lines aren't leading to the... Quiet, David. I'm kidding. It's funny, I have to teach perspective. So part of why I think, okay, I'm going to give a good defensive perspective. You're rarely going to have times where, as an artist, like, you sit down, you find your vanishing point, you find your orthogonal line, you start, like, measuring things out. You start getting into, like, way more complicated things. But the thing you're going to use all the time is even if shortcutting perspective, having a knowledge of what you're shortcutting, it's like key of cartooning, right? Like, as a cartoonist, half of how you get good at cartooning something is you're approximating, you're faking it, right? You're you're using templates or techniques, right? Like, to shortcut the skull, right? Where instead of here's the top of my skull, right? And then here's the sides, right? And then I know that I'm going to have a jawbone here. But you're not thinking jawbone and stuff. You're using these little template shapes to build out a person or a character or whatever it is. And in order to do well, you probably are going to want... and I just realized I've been drawing on the wrong layer. That's okay. It's a rough. You're probably going to want to have a rough idea of what it is you're approximating, right? Like, you're kind of like if you're drawing those circles and you forget that it's to represent a skull, that's where you end up in real trouble as an artist. Like, that's where your template becomes kind of useless, because, like, your template is a shortcut to approximate the thing that you're drawing. That's a really long-winded way of saying, like, just know what you're doing and ask yourself, like, when you're drawing, like, why? What is that? Well, how does that work? Right? If I'm, like, sniffling, it's because of really bad allergies and also still recovering from a cold. And also because I'm a sniveling moron. All right. I don't think that word gets used enough in an insulting fashion. Sniveling. When was the last time you heard somebody say that person is a sniveling thing? I feel like our insults have really lost character as a society. I think we need to go back to more snobby insults for people. What do you think? All right. Here's his library. I like it. He's kind of in his he's studying. What else is on a desk when you're studying? What else should he have? I do like, maybe there's another book here. Trying to kind of keep them all relatively around the same scope. Maybe it's just an open... Well, he could have like an open book over here. I do love the study group. That's going to be my favorite thing in this illustration. I'm going to be so heartbroken if the client's like, I love it, but get rid of the study group. The study group. All right, guys, enough about me. What are you guys working on? Let me know in chat. I know Gary's here. I'm guessing he's working on Dinosaurs versus Marsbots. I should have done that like a faith healer and been like, I'm sensing there's someone out there in the chats who's a suffering. They're a suffering. They're suffering from a graphic novel. They have to do pages. I'm guessing that the pages have something to do with dinosaurs. Am I right? Thank you. That's could I do you guys think you think I could be a an evangelical faith healer? You know what? Forget all this stuff I just said about the beauty of drawing and changing life and doing fun, meaningful things and being productive. I'm just gonna be a faith healer from now on, guys. That's my next live stream is just gonna be like selling, faith healing stuff. Like, guys, if you super chat $5, I have the tears of a swan. The swan was in a lake that was touched by the saints, and it has restorative properties. Okay, anyhow, I don't know why I said a swan. I probably should have said like a dove. That's much more kind of in line. Okay, guys, we are at a point where we have this illustration kind of cooked up. And if I do say so myself, I think this is a pretty fun little endeavor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this with black, and we're going to finish this sucker up. Because sucker MCs have no idea. You know what I mean? I'm in a goofy mood today. Can you guys tell? Can you tell I'm in a good mood today? I know on my schedule right now, sometimes it's hard for me to tell. Am I in a good mood or am I just sleep deprived and finding things amusing that I otherwise tomorrow morning will be like, what the heck was wrong with me? All right. Give him some Harry Potter glasses, okay? Maybe he'll have like a wizard, like the mark of was it called the Dark Mark in Harry Potter? You guys remember? The little lightning bolt on it. Was that the Dark Mark? This is a good series. I feel like there was this weird era. I don't think that there's bad books now. I think books are in a really I think we're in a real beautiful time where because of those books, I think especially Harry Potter was like a game changer when that came out. People would have to probably be about my age to kind of realize it. But when I was younger, like nerds read books. I was an avid reader of books, but I was a big old nerd, you know? And I got teased for reading books, like growing up. Like I was really into reading books. I found them really interesting. I'd stay up late at night, like finishing books. And books were always kind of like, that's what the nerds do, you know, at the time. And now it's like, I do think more kids seem, maybe I'm crazy, but they seem more interested in reading. And if they are interested in reading, it's not like a faux pas thing anymore. Like, yeah, you read. That's kind of what people do. That's a nice change that's happened. You know, I'm trying to think of positives here before our whole, society crumbles into a dictatorial nightmare. There's good things too. I used to have this joke about bad optimist, where it was like the person who, like, the worst thing happens and whatever the worst thing is, they're like, well, on the plus side, you know. I mean, the nice thing is you didn't lose both your arms. That kind of thing, you know? Okay. What else? What else, guys? We're just gonna solidify some of these snake. Isn't that the meme online, the snake, not a snake? I don't know, guys. They're online. You should know the memes. I for sure don't. Okay. What do we got? We got our snake markings. I want them to have, you know, some Python markings, but not, you know, one that'll destroy the universe, you know? Okay. How's this looking? See, the Python marking there doesn't look as friendly. Maybe it needs to be around his eyeballs. All right. We're just gonna be a little more solid with the lines. The nice thing about this is the rough stage for this client. And a lot of people might be like, wow, it's not super rough for a rough, but I try to do pretty detailed roughs for clients. So often if I'm like really struggling with it, I'll try to kind of thumbnail it out and then really rough it to where it's a little more fully realized. That way we have less give and take once approval is gotten, and that way it's a lot easier to get approval for your work, right? Because as an artist, right, you're gonna do, you know, roughs that you submit to a client first. That way you guys can make sure you're on the same page. Be like, oh, you know what? I actually, can we add this thing with the snake? Can we take away the mug? By the way, if they say, can we take away that mug? I'll be like, I can't work with you anymore. I'm kidding. I really like your snake pun, Gary. Gary right now is like lawyering up. He's like, okay, how much of a percent of what my friend is getting paid here can I now claim because he used my intellectual property? That joke was mine. And he took it and used it. That's what Gary's doing. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Gary literally peruses different live streams to find people violating his copyright, and then that's basically how he makes his living. I'm sorry, Gary. I don't know why I always pick on Gary. I think it's Gary and I have a very similar sense of humor. One of the things I love about the Crestline people, they're all, you know, the Artcasters community and the Making Comics podcast community. The thing I like about these guys is we're all kind of very similar in like senses of humor, in you know, passionate about what we're working on, but it is really nice when you like meet people you've hung out with like online a bunch and instantly click and connect, and I think humor has a lot to do with it. All right. My snake here, he's really diligently reading, okay? We're building this out, guys. We're building this out. We got our snake. He's reading. I totally forgot the pencil. I think the pencil was good. Might be overusing because the same client, I had to draw like an ant for another project for them. And it was like a an ant, and guess what he had on his head? A pencil. That's not necessarily good if I'm doing that all the time. Something that was me doing the snake joke again. Okay, so we're making our snake. Probably gonna go for another 30-ish minutes. We have a goal in the chats if you're just tuning in to try to get $5 super chat. And if that comes in, we'll go an extra 30 minutes. I think there's a good 20 minutes left to kind of hit that goal. We may not, but I have a feeling we will not. I like the delay there. We will not. I'm cracking myself up here. That's what I'm doing, guys. I'm here all night. But I am trying to kind of bust through this because I do have other things that I want to get accomplished. One thing I want to figure out, and I should probably talk to Corey Kerr about this, is it'd be fun to live stream the recording process because it's a really interesting kind of weird. Like with my art, even this, right? I tend to be a little methodical, right? Where I pre-plan and do roughs and different stages of preparation and stuff so that it basically has the best chance of success, right? And so there's a bit of improvisation with my drawing, but not as much. Whereas with music, it's so weirdly organic. And it'd be a fun process to live stream while doing. Could figure out how to do it. So I got to figure out a way to do that because I'm guessing that if I connect GarageBand, it's the audio that I need to kind of figure out, like to where you guys could hear what I'm recording. Because the problem is, like, there's a lot of different audio inputs on my computer, and the thing I'd be worried about is, okay, so if I stream GarageBand, is there a way to live stream audio that's not in GarageBand and the audio from GarageBand as I'm recording? It'd be a complicated thing to try to figure out without like a mixing board or something more complicated, but I'm sure there's a simplified solution to it. And I'm guessing out of everybody I know, Mr. Corey Kerr, who is a tech wizard, would know. I'm kind of not necessarily sold on this this pattern, but whatever. Okay. We're not being precious. We're doing a rough. All right. So our snake is coming along. I'm going to work on the mug. Let's just kind of build this stuff out. So we got our smoke. I'm going to make it a little thinner and a little more kind of straight lines and straight angles to it. We'll see if that was the right call in a second. Yeah, I kind of like that. Hey, look at that. That's coming along okay. Would you look at that? Why, I dare say that looks like smoke. So I've been really digging. I love discovering music that's like older. I don't know. This is something that I've noticed as I get older. Is I'm less hip to what is current in music. But I become like way more hip to music that came before that I had somehow missed. And there's this band called The Sound that is phenomenal. I might have already talked about them on stream. but it's like early 80s kind of post punk, but not really. I don't know what the term is. I'd have to talk to the resident musicologist Kevin Cross to kind of find the appropriate name for what they are. But they're so good. So good. And I had heard the now I'm looking on his name, but the lead singer had unfortunately like kind of offed himself. But I had heard his other band called the Outsiders, which is like a hardcore band, punk band. Like a European hardcore punk band. But I had never heard the sound, and it is so good. If you're a fan of the early Cure, it's got like vibes that kind of resonate with that kind of sound, like a little bit of the gothic, but early gothic, not, industrial dark gothic. It's like, that kind of vibe where there's some like synth work and the compositions are very sparse, like really beautiful way. Um, but then it also has like some rhythmic similarities to the Violent Femmes, like the early Violent Femmes. And then it has some Doorsy vibe, like the Doors, like vocally. If the Doors were better, not that the Doors are bad. And definitely some Joy Division vibes because it's very bass heavy with unusual tunings on the bass, and very bass driven. So if you really like kind of the driving, kind of droney vibe of Joy Division. It's really excellent. And I can't believe I hadn't heard of it before, heard of the sound before. But they're phenomenal bands. So that's been on rotation for me for like the last like week and a half. Because I kind of just found out about them, and I'm kind of shocked that I just found out about them. Now, how did I find out about them? I went to see The Refused recently. And then, like, going to see The Refused reminded me of not only how much I like Refused, but the International Noise Conspiracy, which is the lead singer of Refused, is the lead singer of the International Noise Conspiracy. Two totally different vibes of band. But anyhow, so then I watched some interviews with him after, and he was mentioning the sound as like a huge influence, and I was like, huh, I have never heard of this band. And and it sounded like, just the way he was talking about it, it sounded like one of those bands, kind of like Joy Division or a band like that, where you should have heard of them. And I'm like, but I didn't. So now I want to check them out. And again, if you guys haven't heard the sound and you're fans of the Muzak, that would be a good thing to kind of check out. Okay, we've been streaming for about 48 minutes. I'm gonna draw for about 10 more minutes, and then we'll take a little break. And by break, that just means I'm gonna play a trailer. For anyone new to this channel, I always play trailers when I get up to get water or use the restroom or other things that you don't want to do on stream, Yawn, sneeze. Okay. It's a format I figured out, when I started doing this, because I used to do streams like super late at night, and apparently yesterday I also did a very crazy late night stream. But in general, I noticed that like if you just stream with like out like a little break, you can really screw up your health, kid. Yes. Oh, okay. I thought you were waiting for me for something. Okay. We are getting closer, guys. So what I'm going to do is kind of work out this snake, and then from there, we'll kind of start adding shading. So there's going to be lighting, some very interesting light. Have some paper here. Maybe it's like folding up. And then we'll have like a couple. And then we're just going to kind of build out the rest of this background, the rest of the snake. And then all I have to do after that is like really, do the tones. There's like 3 colors that are used for each of these book covers for this client. And they have like a preset specific tone of yellows they like to use. Yes. 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 So we're almost there. And kind of working through. And just kind of adding those little touches, like the little tiny details without getting crazy into it. 'Cause like, again, it's not a final project. It's just a rough, right? Maybe this has some of those little bindy things. I actually like the idea of maybe this one has a bookmark that's kind of peeking out from the pages. And it's, okay. La 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 la. So I'm going to see how far I can get in the next 8 minutes before we take our little first break. It does look like this stream will most likely be about a half an hour or longer to an hour longer. I'm gonna honestly guess like it's been flowing pretty quickly and easily, so I'm gonna guess that it's probably gonna be more equivalent to maybe, if I have to estimate, like 45 minutes. That's one of the hardest things that you as an artist is being able to kind of estimate your time. I'd say that's one of the struggles. Oh no. How much of this line work have I been doing on the wrong layer? Oh man. That's not good. I'm gonna try to kind of see if I can cheat that, but that is not good. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. You know what? We just gotta redo it. Oh, that's frustrating. I like how I'm like very happily saying, oh, it's great. Like, this. Oh, that's not good either. Okay, let's try. I'm gonna screen this. Let's do multiply. Okay, let's screen this and then let's draw our snake stuff. Oh man, we were making really good progress, guys. I was drawing the wrong layer. And I had these like beautiful little details. Really shouldn't take that long now because I've already done a lot of the simplification. All right. Again, some books, doing our little details. And yeah, so if you are checking the sound, I would encourage you to check out Winning. That's a really good one. There's also the song I Can't Escape Myself, and that's probably my favorite sound song. And when I do music tonight, if I'm able, I think I'm gonna do something inspired by that. But again, like the music thing, I usually do 15 minutes a day, and then I just got off my game of spending 15 minutes a day like writing something for like the last month or so. Understandably, because I'm juggling a lot, doing a lot of things. Here's a question, something that comes to mind. Do you think like clowns or circus performers get offended that the term juggling is overused? Like, if you're a person who professionally juggles, does it start to become offensive when people are like, "Man, I'm just juggling so many things," and they're like, "You're not juggle. That's not." Stop belittling my art form. Now I'm kind of curious about that. Like, are there jugglers out there? Anybody in chat who's a professional juggler who gets offended by the misuse of juggling? They're just trying to correct the record of an under respected craft. Okay. Okay, guys. We are so close. We are so close. We are so there. This is so happening. All right. Snake studying sketch is in motion. I'm going to put on a trailer and I will be right back. Let's do Frank's Adventures at the Library, and then I'll be right back. If you guys haven't yet, there is a goal in the chats to try to get $5 super chat. We don't have to hit it, but it'd be cool if we could. All right, here is Frank's Adventures at the Library.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice.
We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves, but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Cremble.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found the sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment And who is Joshua Kemble?
Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. Two Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide.
You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
All right, guys, we are back. We are finishing up a snake illustration for a client. He is a super snake. And he's this kind of cool old man chair behind him. Somebody ahead. Gonna start like working out a little bit more of like this little detail on the chair. Maybe we make it a little more palatable details. Might be kind of fun. Based on those rough, lines underneath that we worked on earlier. But I feel like, especially with a chair like this, like an old timey kind of fancy chair, it needs like those little squiggly details and stuff, to kind of pull it off. That kind of works. Let's do this. And we're just going to kind of continue to build this up. Curious what you guys are working on. It's a Monday, That can be a good thing or a bad thing for most people. I think a lot of people really hate Monday. I always feel like hating a specific day of the week is a very strange thing, because I've had great Mondays and I've had horrible Fridays before in the past, so it doesn't seem like the day of the week really dictates how things are going to go. And I don't know if this is weird, but to me, it's like predetermining how your day is going to go can be really, I don't know, it can like set the wheels in motion. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I've definitely had days where I was just not on my A game and was like, I'm grumpy. And then that day usually ends up pretty awful, Whereas if I start with like kind of a more positive outlook and stuff, things tend to work out better. Jim said, just recorded a Making Comics episode with Keith and Scott. Nice. Was it in regards to the new thing? We have to have you on Artcasters, man. I am so stoked about the Unicornians. If you guys haven't checked this out, Jim Lujan is doing a new series called The Unicornians. And it pleases me so much. You please me so much, Mr. Jim. It brings me much joy what you do. But in all seriousness, it does make me really happy. One of my favorite Jim Lujan cartoons was about a cult leader named John Henry Unicorn, and people who are in the Church of the Unicorn. And when he was telling us that that's his new focus, is doing a kind of a mini series kind of based on the Unicornian church, that ticks off all kind of boxes for me. For one thing, in my leisure, he said Unicornians is going to be April 22nd for everyone. That's coming up, guys. But it ticks off all kinds of boxes. Like, one is I love documentaries about cults. Like, I cannot explain how fascinating and disturbing and just absolutely interesting cults are, and the mentality of people who get into cults, how otherwise like totally rational people can end up with like wildly irrational beliefs, and then how the power is usually exploited by a very small number, and then also just like really interesting things with cults, like sometimes you wonder, well, you don't wonder actually, sometimes you watch these documentaries and the cult leaders themselves like actually believe the thing that they're selling, which is really weird. So they kind of started off almost like a drug or a scam, and then they end up starting deluding themselves into believing the kind of malarkey. Isn't that an old, I feel like that's a Joe Biden phrase, malarkey. Malarkey's underused. But anyhow, just the sheer the amount of things that are interesting in a story about a cult are just like nonstop. You've got intrigue, you've got secrecy, you've got cover-ups, you've got human behavior, you have people exploiting people, you have people getting kind of sucked in and fooled. You have just everything that's great. And so the thing that excites me about it is, I think it's just going to be a really fun series. And I think it has a lot of fodder for a Lujan cartoon. Jim does a great job with strange characters. I feel like Jim Lujan cartoon, was it? I think Jim said this himself, but I think one of the things that makes his cartoon so good is he'll take like a side character almost that like the henchman, of a villain rather than the villain himself, and make it like the main character of his story. He just finds like really interesting, wild characters to kind of explore. And then the thing that I love, and this is a weird thing to say, Jim's cartoons, and so, maybe Jim won't even agree with this, but I think in a weird way, one of the things I always admire is when a comedian treats their characters with like strangely like love, like they're not like they'll have a character that's awfully strange, and but then they don't just make like a TV series that's just making fun of that character. Like they actually get really deep into the mind of the character. Perfect example of this is Battle Saul, right? The TV series where, yeah, it's this like scammy lawyer, who basically like, helps money launder, but they treat that character in that series like so tenderly, and with so much interest in like what makes them tick and like what are the complexities, what's their home life like into all this like interesting stuff rather than going with the surface level, joke. And sure, there's jokes in there, but and jokes land like a million times better because it comes from such an interest in the character themselves. And I love about Lujan's cartoons that he takes a lot of interest in his characters. Like they're rarely surface level. They always have a little bit, and you talk to Jim about his stuff, and you'll see that like he has like a backstory for each character. He kind of knows what like type of beverage they drink, and if they went shopping, like what store they're gonna go to, if on music to listen to, what kind of music they'd listen to. And it's funny because they're funny, very humorous cartoons, but The depth of character of his characters is so great that it made humor that like land so much better. We got Cirque in the house. God, I was telling Chad about that that text I sent where I was like so out of sorts for what day of the week it was that I was like, Scott, where are you, Artcasters? And you're like, dude, it's Monday. um, how's the Kickstarter going, Scott? If you guys haven't yet, you should also consider supporting Young and the Dead, youngandthedead.com. We'll take you right to the Kickstarter that is currently running for the complete Young and the Dead, which is Scott's like kind of grand opus. Like he's been working on this Kids versus Zombies book. Night of the Living Dead meets Goonies kind of vibe. And he's been working on this for years, and he finally finished it. He finally got the last issue done, and yeah. So go support Scott. It's a 10-year endeavor, okay? Hundreds of pages of comics. And enjoyment. Okay. What do we got here? At this point, I'm just kind of filling in the books. I might get into more detail on the final. But I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. We have a snake chilling, reading a book, studying. He's got a mug that says group, thanks to Gary Hodges. Yeah, we're gonna get there. All right, guys. I'm excited too because after this I get to exercise, and then after that I'm gonna do what was it I need to do? I have like a million things I need to do. I need to do homework, but I also need to start prepping my next assignment for my art class. And I'm thinking of doing. Have you guys ever looked into Chuck Close? He's really interesting. He was a realist in the 70s. And he is probably the king of using the grid technique. And so the grid technique is like where when you're drawing from a photo, you put like a grid over the photo. Like, it kind of looks like a tic-tac-toe chart. And then you do a grid that's equally the same amount of squares. It's a grid of squares on a larger canvas or whatever you're working on. And then when you're drawing, you just focus on each square of the grid. And when you're finished, you end up with this like crazy photorealistic result. Which also demystifies photorealism because like photorealism's not that hard, guys. This is why like when you let's say you're like hanging out with artists, if you have like a cartoonist that's just incredible, that was in like Mad Magazine, like Sergio Aragonés or something. Most artists, I think, most people who know drawing pretty well, are going to be more geeked out about meeting like Sergio Aragonés. They're going to feel more intimidated drawing around Sergio Aragonés than they would around, like, say, Thomas Kincaid. By the way, Thomas Kincaid, background in animation, found his hustle. I happen to dislike his hustle. Like, there's nothing I dislike. One of the things I dislike the most are Tom Kincaid landscapes. I can't. With, like, the fluffy cottages and stuff. But he found his hustle, and ended up making a fortune. So, good for him. But my point being, photorealism. Anyhow, that's also a side track. Okay, so we're going to have lighting coming from here. That's where I'm going to do my lighting on my snake. Light the snake. That's actually the next album that I'm working. That was a Jim Lujan joke, by the way. I usually do those jokes with Jim because he likes to do the bit where it's like, that was like the biggest indie, you know, punk band in the 90s or something. You know what I mean? Like, if he hears like a funny name, he'll be like, that's the band name for, you know, the most epic garage band ever or something. Here's what I'm here to do, guys. Deconstruct jokes to where they're not funny, okay? But anyhow, where was I with this? The photorealism, Chuck Close. Oh yeah. So I think it would be fun to do a project where you do the grid, but each square of the grid is assigned to a different student. So each of them is doing like almost like a pixel of an image that will then combine and make like a giant portrait that has all kinds of weird stylistic differences and color differences and stuff. I think that'd be a cool project, and that's something unique to, you know, a class, and could be like kind of a group project type thing. But a group project where it's measurable and you're not like, you know, penalized for being the person who wants to work in the group. All right. We're getting there. So Scott said the Kickstarter is pushing along. That's good to hear. I'm just adding shading now, just to kind of give depth and kind of, you know, give them an idea of kind of where we're heading here. And I'm just imagining light kind of coming from that coming slightly from the lamp that we kind of put there. Saying kinda a lot. I have a teacher this semester who says "and type stuff" a lot, and I've been trying to figure out. Like, I haven't heard that a lot. Somebody saying, you know, something and type stuff. I'm trying to think, like, is that like a regional thing? Like, maybe it's a Midwest thing. It sounds like a Midwest thing, but I've been trying to figure it out. Is like, where does "and type stuff" come from? What's the etymology of that? He's a great teacher, but he'll be like kind of talking about stuff and be like, "and type stuff." And I've been like, where is that from? Okay. We're just gonna start blocking in some shadow in the shadows. The shadows of the mind. I wonder if I did that kind of voice while I live streamed. I wonder how the live stream would do. If I was like, "Welcome to the art stream." Yes. I'm being goofy, guys. I'm being goofy. All right, so we've got some stuff going. We've got our book kind of being illustrated here. We've got our snake very studiously reading and studying. Got the light coming from that lamp. That actually doesn't make a lot of sense, having the shadow there on the lamp. So we'll do, maybe the shadow goes back here. Okay, and then now, good. Okay, now I'm going to do just the snake shadows that go behind the snake. La la la. Snake shadows. Oh. I kind of did this on the wrong layer. Okay, I want to make a new layer and then do that snake shadow. That's snake shadow. Snake Shadow would be a good band name. Hey guys, we're Snake Shadow. Shadow of the Snake. There has to be a movie called Shadow of the Snake. There absolutely, there has got to be. That's like the ultimate, that's a great Kung Fu title. That has to exist. I need to find this out. If you guys aren't working on art and you have like a computer where you're not drawing right now like I am, and you can kind of look up Shadow of the Snake. Is there a book or a movie called Shadow of the Snake? Shadow of the Snake. All right, so here we go. Kind of doing the book covers. Just kind, you know, again, just like as I'm doing this, I'm just asking, like, what is the light hitting here? What does it look like at the top of those books that are going back into the bookshelf, right? Down here, I want this to kind of get lost in a little more shadow, so it kind of pushes it back. And then we're just going to kind of, this is going to be very background right here. We're going to do a path. Shadow of the Snake. I really, now I want to know if that exists. Does Shadow of the Snake exist? Because that's a great title for something. All right. Okay, guys. You guys, we're almost there. All right, I have a couple things to do. So one is I have to use these two tones of color here. So we're going to do a real trick. Quick trick. Okay, here's the quick trick. So I'm going to start with the darkest tone. And then I'm going to work my way from light to dark for the tones of color. So, do I want the snake to be white? Probably not. I kind of like the idea of this chair being a little lighter. His belly should be that lighter color. I'm just going to gradually build up by doing the lighter shades. And again, this is a rough, so this is really just blocking in some very quick approximations, you know. I like this, the idea of this. The book's actually pretty good light. Let's see here. Now I'm going to start working in things I know have to be white. We'll kind of see where we're at. So for white, I want to have the dot here of the eye. Landon said, it's been a while, dude, or it's been a minute. How's the process of the book? How much do you have left to go? I have about 100 pages left to go. Right now I'm working on some freelance. And I have so much catch up on the book, but the nice thing is I have all summer to work on it. So my goal is, like, this is part of the reason I am a high school teacher now. I get summers off. So summer's going to be crashing hard and rocking, you know, 100+ pages of comics, which should be totally doable. But I am going to kind of slowly chip away at it. So I'd say I'm definitely over halfway done. But there were definitely a lot of changes in life trajectories and plans that kind of came up and rocked it a little bit. I'm going to have this smoke also be lighter. And then our light source is for sure going to be lighter. Cool. I think we're almost there, guys. Okay, there's my snake, Ruff. What do you guys think of the Python studying? I am going to call it. Landon, thanks for joining. Scott, Jim, Gary, anybody who was watching live, I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't yet, you want to hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. That way, when I have, hangout days like today, I can. Landon, don't spare. However long it takes, just get it done, man. I will. I'm a finisher, so I will. That's something that is unquestionably going to happen. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, if you haven't yet, consider picking up Jacob's Apartment. It's a graphic novel about two young 20-somethings, or polar opposites that, through rough life circumstances, find themselves drawn together. Their dreams and reality start interweaving in a story that, like, if you took Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, put it in a blender with Ghost World, and you like that flavor, you'd really like Jacob's Apartment. You can buy that everywhere. Bookstores everywhere. You could probably get that at Barnes & Noble. And if they don't have it at your local Barnes & Noble, tell them to order it. They can. And then Two Stories, which is my graphic novel about faith and mental illness. That's handwritten, hand-lettered, and hand-inked, and can be handed to you in print, preferably through Amazon. Or, that one's a little harder to get at bookstores. And then finally, consider getting free music. Spotify or any of the music downloading platforms, you can usually find Joshua Kemble on there, and you can stream and listen to, 4 or 5 albums of rock music and folk music and punk rock that's completely free and I need. And with that being said, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Monday night. I'm going to go work out and then write some music. At some point, I'm going to talk to Corey Kerr about how I could kind of maybe live stream while doing music. But till then, till next time, Kremlin, I will see you guys later. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's live stream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream.